Hi, I'm Feroz Khan, and welcome to Drag and Drop Low Code Unplugged, the podcast where we explore the game-changing impact of low code in software development. Join me in insightful conversations with IT leaders and passionate low code enthusiasts who are at the forefront of this digital evolution. Together, we'll explore how early adoption of low code is giving businesses a competitive edge on a global scale. We'll discuss its impact on software development, dissect its role in transforming businesses, and uncover the ways in which it's reshaping career trajectories. So whether you're a seasoned IT professional or a curious enthusiast, be sure to tune in as we share success stories and unravel the mysteries of low code. Subscribe now and stay tuned for a front row seat to the revolution that's shaping the future of technology. So let's go. Hi, Sophie, and welcome to Drag and Drop podcast.
Hello.
Thank you
Thank you for
for,
having me.
no problem. We've only met not too long ago, so it's a nice quick turnaround to have you on. So I appreciate you, interested to be a guest.
Yes, well, when we met, I have to admit the first thing I thought was, well, what does it take to be on your podcast? Because it sounded really interesting, and
Yeah.
I was like, it seems very nice to be able to join you here. So I'm glad that that you accepted me.
Great, great. No, great. It'd be good to start with a bit of an introduction to yourself, who you are, where you're from, a bit more about you.
Yeah, sure. I'm Sophie. I'm 30 years old, born and raised in the Netherlands, from The Hague, actually. Well, in English, you cannot really convey the accent. Well,
Yeah,
I can't at least.
yeah,
But you can hear that I'm from there when I'm speaking Dutch. Um, I am, regarding hobbies and stuff, I'm really into bouldering, fitness, sports, things. Well, not watching it, but doing sports myself.
sure.
Um, Gaming, reading, like the usual things, actually.
Yeah.
Pretty much a huge nerd, I would say myself.
Not a bad thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like as a child, I would think that it was a bad thing. Like there was this negative connotation about being a
Mm.
nerd. And now I'm like, yeah, no, out and proud, I'm a huge nerd. I mean, I love Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star
Yeah,
Wars, Doctor
that's
Who, you
cool.
name it. Just
Wow.
I vibe with you. Yeah.
Amazing. And obviously, you're here because you're working with Mendix, but it'd be good to kind of rewind and kind of start from kind of, obviously I know, but where your career started, and obviously you're in technology. You didn't start in technology, so it'd be good to kind of hear why you went in the direction you went in to start with, and then how it pivoted into tech.
Yeah, sure. When I was in high school, I had no clue whatsoever what I wanted to do later in life. I was also struggling a lot. I felt like um, it was very hard for me to like, kind of like to keep up or something.
Mm,
Not that it was too difficult. I just didn't really give it a chance to understand certain subjects. So
mm,
I would tell myself, well, I don't understand science or something,
mm,
so I'm not even gonna try. I'll just focus on the things that I'm good at, which were languages mostly. Um, and so when it came to deciding your career, I mean, imagine this: you're 17 years old and you have to decide what you want to do for
yeah,
the rest of your
yeah,
life. Um, and my parents always told me you have to choose when you go to college or university, you have to do something that you like. Because
yeah,
if you like what you're doing, odds are that you will actually finish. And,
yeah,
it's very important for you to get that degree. If you have a
yeah,
degree,
yeah,
you will be fine.
yeah,
And since I was like, well, everything that's more in the technical
yeah,
direction is not for me. I was looking into things such as journalism, things with languages, until a friend of mine said, well, Sophie, isn't this, well, it's called Theater, Film, and Television Studies at Utrecht University. Maybe that's something for you. And I was like, oh, sure, let's go.
yeah,
Um, and it ticked all the boxes for being fun or being something I
Yeah.
was interested in. I always enjoyed movies, television, and those kind of things. So that's what I did. I went to university for film and television studies, even got a master's degree.
Wow.
And afterwards, I was like, well, cool. Now I have a master's degree.
Now what? Yeah.
Now, yeah. So, and during my master's, I had to do an internship. And I did an internship at an editorial office for a television guide. Like, it's not a television show or anything. It was just like this online television guides, and which had
Yeah.
a lot of articles in it and stuff. So I was like, oh yeah, I always enjoyed
Yeah.
writing blogs. So I like
Yeah.
writing. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Maybe I can even make a career out of this. During that internship, I felt very out of place. I didn't really belong with the people there. I felt like I was kind of an outsider. And yeah, how should I say it? I started doubting whether I actually wanted to make a career out of that.
Yeah.
So after I graduated, I did apply for a traineeship at Media Park in Hilversum. And that was definitely the nail in the coffin for me regarding this line of work. There were a lot of very ambitious people, but ambitious in a way, extremely competitive, but in a not so nice way. I mean,
Yeah.
a little competition is fine, but
Step on others to kind of get ahead, right?
Exactly. Thank you. And I really got a vibe there that it was gonna be like that. And well, I wasn't really that sad when I didn't get the traineeship.
Yeah.
But during one of those informative evenings for the traineeship, they also mentioned this other program. It was called Make IT Work. And well, they were like, oh, you can just switch your whole career and get into IT. And I thought to myself, well, maybe IT is interesting. I like computers.
Yeah.
I mean, don't we all like computers? For me, it was I'm definitely not one of those people who was coding for fun as a child.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's obvious from what
Yeah.
I just stated.
Yeah.
But I did grow up with a computer and using it a lot more than many of my friends or peers from my age or something. So though I wasn't really IT oriented yet, I was like, let's just try.
Yeah.
Let's try. Because anything is better than just being miserable.
Yeah, of course.
Not knowing what I want to do.
Yeah.
So less than a year after graduating, I went back to school.
Wow. And then how was that, that experience of obviously you've done a master's, and obviously now decide to switch, you obviously, because of the traineeship, had decided, okay, I'm going to do something else. I'm someone who kind of also, I don't have a degree, but I grew up being told, if you don't have a degree, you're not going to be anything, and all these things, right? It's the most important piece of paper you can have in your life. So how did that kind of sit with your family who drilled that into you?
Well, they were extremely proud that I got my degree in the first place. They're like, you worked really hard for this, and it doesn't really matter what you're going to do next. You have that degree. And even though because the field I studied in, it's from the humanities faculty. And well, I've had many people telling me over the course of studying before and afterwards, like, but you didn't really do a real
a proper degree.
It's just it's just a fun degree, you know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
it's not a real thing, not like, and there was always people who were like doing something like earth sciences or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. All the fancy stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. Um and like even the principal for my high school at graduation,
yeah.
when we graduated high school, he said, "Yeah, you're also gonna do an interesting. You're gonna go for an interesting field of studying, like film and television studies, and the things they don't make in a science these days."
Oh
And I was just like,
wow.
"Well, yeah, I mean, thank you.
Yeah,
At least I'm going to do
yeah. Doing
something
something.
with
Yeah,
my
exactly. Yeah,
brain, you know." It's
yeah, yeah.
because that's what always got drilled into me. Like, yeah, you're smart, you're clever, you have
Hmm.
to use that, and if you can go to university, you have to go to university.
Yeah,
And I think that's I when I went to do Make IT Work, that's on like HBO. It's a HBO. I don't know what it's in English. It's just in Netherlands there are various levels
yep,
for after high school,
sure.
and where university is more towards the theoretical academic.
Uh-huh.
Uh, HBO is the more practical
Yep.
side of things, I think. Um, and well, when I started doing that, I felt more at ease there. I think I was like, oh, it works better for me to be learning like this.
Yeah,
Um, and there were times where I felt like I have gotten into this from the start.
yeah,
Like maybe I shouldn't have gone to university, and maybe I should have done something differently. Um, but when I tell people that, and like now, obviously, I don't think like that anymore,
yeah,
but even though I'm not working in the field that I have a degree in, it's very valuable to me because I learned so much.
yeah,
It gave me a skill set that even these days, well, it comes in very handy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
um, it has been very useful, and well, to top it off, it was also very fun because I got to
Yeah,
watch a lot
yeah,
of movies. So you
yeah.
know,
That's cool. Yeah,
it's a cool trade-off, I
that's
think.
true. That's true. And you know, the IT traineeship that you did. Can you talk me through that process of obviously you're coming in not knowing anything about, you know, like obviously you had a computer, but that doesn't mean you understand all the languages and, you know, the kind of ways people speak. What was that? Can you talk me through the experience of your first reaction of like, oh wow, to kind of when you completed the course, you know, how you evolved?
Yeah, definitely. The way the course was set up, let me think what it was like. Um, it would be like 1 year. The curriculum was a year,
Yeah,
divided in 2 semesters. The first semester was just full time going back to school at first,
yeah,
and then doing like a project phase. And afterwards, the second semester would be like 4 days working, 1 day back to school. At first, like that Make IT Work, it has multiple the
yeah,
pathways you could choose, and I went into business analytics rather than software engineering.
yeah,
And business analytics had like databases, business management and organization, and Java programming. And well, I there were a lot of things I had no clue about, but nobody in
yeah,
my class really had an advantage in that, for that matter, because like we were all coming from completely different
different
directions.
backgrounds.
So
Yeah,
I think that it was just going in with a open mind,
yeah,
and the goal there was not really, well, the goal was that you were in school from 9 to 5, and afterwards you didn't really have to do any homework. So everything, you should be able to finish everything in class that day. So there was no preparation needed. And so it was pretty comfortable for me to get in, actually, because I was like, okay, I don't need to prepare myself. So I cannot feel like I'm left behind already from the get-go. And from that moment, it was like, just dive in, and you get everything thrown at you, which was very intense. But we had an incredible teacher. To this day, I think he is the best teacher I have ever had, and that makes a huge difference, because he was really patient, and he was also just very good at explaining all the concepts. And when somebody didn't understand it right away, he found another way to explain it. And he was clear, and that was definitely very important for me, at least. I also met the teacher for the other class, the software engineering class, and I was like, oh, I probably would have had a much harder time in here. So that was definitely in a positive way, like, it was a game changer for me, I think.
And when did kind of Mendix come into your kind of, skill set? When was that first introduced to you? Was that during the training or after the training?
No, that was when I started working at my previous employer. So with how Make IT Work is set up, is that you go to school first, then you can work at your employer. For me, that was good. So, and when I started working there, with everyone who starts their traineeship there, you start from the bottom. So mostly that's like a support desk. And well, I was not having a good time there.
Okay.
I did not like, I just did not like dealing with all those people with their problems. But I also understood that it was part of the process, like, especially now, like, I'm 30 now, I was 23 back then. I was young and naive, and I had absolutely no experience or whatsoever. Yet I felt like I had the right to do more exciting stuff. So I was not in a good mood on the support desk, and it was all right. It wasn't. I did learn a lot there, so it was a good experience either way. But I was also impatient, especially since all my classmates, they were doing all the cool stuff. They were building the data warehouses. They were making awesome dashboards. They were actually doing the things that we had been doing for the project phase in our Make IT Work program. And I felt kind of underappreciated, I think. But then again, like, I was the youngest after me in that class was 29. So.
Oh wow! Okay.
They all had careers they were switching.
Switching. You
didn't
decided
have a career.
quite early on, right? So kind of
now I think, like, damn, Sophie, you could have been a little more patient and stuff. I was not a happy person, and I talked about it with my field manager a lot, and I think that one day I was so not feeling it. I later on told my manager that. I said I so much did not want to go into another day of having to do this work that I almost called in sick. And I do not approve of that at all, ever. But this is where I am. I just really do not like having to do this. And he took that very seriously, and he made a lot of work out of it. And then then he told me like, okay, well, we're gonna get you off that support desk job, and then he told me later on, well, you can join the Mendix Bootcamp that we're doing. Do you know what Mendix is? And I was like, I have never heard of it, but why on earth have they called it Mendix? A lot of a lot of associations happening in there, and
Yeah.
could have gone for slightly different naming, I guess. But here we are.
Yeah.
It was. He said, okay, you get to do that, and to me that well, I was like, okay, it sounds like an opportunity that I grasped it with both hands. I was like, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna prove that this was the right decision. Like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna regret giving me this chance.
Yeah.
So I dove in with a few other colleagues. We had the Mendix Bootcamp that was in December 2018, I think. And then at the beginning of 2019, we had the opportunity to start at like my first project. That's how Mendix came into
Yeah.
play, actually.
Yeah. And when you were doing the boot camp, how long was the process of learning to being on a client project?
Well, the boot camp was it was only 1 day a week of
Okay.
like the boot camp, because at the time I was not on another project,
Yeah.
but all my other colleagues were. So obviously it was a huge investment. So 1 day a week was for the Mendix Bootcamp, and the other days they had to just do regular work.
Yeah.
And so it was the bootcamp was, I believe, 10 weeks.
Okay.
And then, well, actually, I to this day I don't know how they managed to do this, but basically after the bootcamp finished, we got to start at that project. They were also very new with Mendix. They were just
Yeah.
starting with Mendix, and yeah, we got to be a part of setting up Mendix there at the organization. So that was really cool. And so we went with like 4 juniors and 1
Yeah.
senior.
Yeah.
It was wild, really.
How did you, when you kind of went on the client project, did you feel ready in yourself?
No.
Oh, you didn't. Okay.
I was not remotely ready for that. It was a struggle. Actually, obviously, since it was pre-COVID, it was normal to be in the office every day.
Yeah.
While I lived in The Hague, obviously, and the client was in Breda, so it was, well, a good hour drive to and from every day. And since everything was like the matter was new to me, I was still learning a lot in Mendix itself. Also, the line of work, like how we were going to work with the client, and what we had to do, how to set up the project, all those kind of things. Meetings, just doing the regular work, the whole package, that was also very new.
Yeah.
And on top of that, 2.5 hours commute every day.
Yeah. Wow.
That was very intense.
Yeah.
So intense. Let's
And
keep it at that.
with the kind of that experience, and obviously someone who you studied one thing, then you did the traineeship, and then you're doing support, now doing Mendix, and even though your mindset was, I'm not gonna let you down, I'm gonna make this work. When did you feel yourself, okay, this is the right career path, I'm gonna stick to this and not deviate?
Well, I think that like from the get-go, I had a lot of fun doing
Yeah.
Mendix. Like, it was just that I felt like I had to prove myself. So I also took on a lot of other things that I didn't feel remotely sure of or
Yeah.
confident. But I was like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
But from the get-go, I found it was I thought it was very awesome, the things you could do with Mendix, because I had this, in Make IT Work, we had this introduction to Java programming, and I found it very cool that I could just like write lines
Yeah.
of code and
Yeah.
then something would happen. And then like the things I struggled with when doing the Java programming, that was so much easier to do with Mendix. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I can actually make things
Yeah.
much more easily. And so I was pretty soon. I mean, there were doubts along the way, of course, especially when you go into a little bit more of the complex logic things.
Yeah.
But I felt like I had found my thing to say
Yeah.
so. And well, even more so when I started shifting my focus a bit. When we just started, well, obviously we were just mostly working on the application
Yeah.
and the business logic for the application, and it had to work. And yeah, in the meantime, every spare minute I could get, I found myself trying to make sure that we didn't have the Mendix blue application, but
Yeah.
it had to be more red, because the client we were at was Avance. Their primary color was red. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna fix this color, and
Yeah.
okay, I'm just gonna try to see how I can make this a little prettier. I just really liked messing around in the user
Yeah.
interface a bit. But I had no clue about that, how it worked. I mean, we had during the bootcamp, we had one lesson about styling. And back then you had to do a whole Gulp and Node.js installation for the live server to work. Doesn't really matter. It was back with Mendix 7, and everything has gotten so much easier now to get into styling, because applying custom CSS back then was pretty much of a hassle. But I had no clue about CSS at all either.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just messing around. I was like, I don't know. I'm just going to put like a left margin on this and I'll just see what happens. But well, yes, like I said, I was messing around with that mostly. And then another project started alongside our project at the same client. They wanted to change their entire landscape to more Mendix applications.
Yeah.
And for the other project, there was only one developer working on it, and they had a UX designer aboard as well, and they needed someone who was going to make sure that the pages actually looked like what he designed. And they had word had gotten around that I was kind of interested in doing the styling part.
Yeah.
So I went to that other project to do the styling stuff. And when I got more comfortable doing that, like in those, I eventually did a little course on HTML and CSS as well, because it might be handy to know what
Helpful.
you're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, that's when I got better at doing that, and I just started. I just really, at some point, I realized that this is what I want to do. Yeah. I do like the regular development things as well, like the logic and stuff. But I just love making pretty user interfaces, and good user interfaces as well. I just let me do the front end, and that's when I started getting better at that in general, and that's I think that's when I knew I was gonna stick around for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you have someone like a mentor or someone who kind of helped your development that, you being a junior, you're obviously not a junior anymore, but, juniors tend to look up to seniors. You talked about obviously when you're doing the training, but, in your kind of work, was there someone who supported you, helped you kind of grow?
Definitely, yes. Of course, we had like what I said, that we were with 4 juniors and one
Yeah.
senior on the client project, and especially in the beginning, well, that senior was also well, kind of having a mentoring role for us. I mean, especially for the day-to-day things, he was really helping us a lot, and I think it depended obviously what someone's need for it was,
Yeah.
because I had colleagues who were, despite being kind of junior in the
Yeah.
Mendix part, were not really junior anymore at all, and well, I needed a little bit more coaching and stuff.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, that was that senior, but I also had like one of the colleagues I was working with at Avance. He, like, I think kind of in a natural way or something, he was helping me a lot as well, but yeah, more from a peer kind of
Yeah.
view. Though that evolved over time well, I think that since we have been working together for over 6 years by now,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that at some point I just started viewing him as my mentor as well, and
Yeah.
kind of naturally grew that way. And yeah,
Amazing. And
that
I'm guessing that's the person that I also met that we're speaking about. And you're not at that same company now, so can you tell me about, obviously, things have moved on since then, where you are now, what you're doing?
yeah. Well, at some point, you've been working somewhere for a while, and you start questioning, what
Yeah.
do I want to do? What more do I want to get out of my career? And will I be getting that here, or do I have to look elsewhere? And then well, eventually, I've started, just talking to people in my network. Like, it started, and it was really fun actually. How sometimes when I think back, I just texted this kind of like friend, colleague, also sort of not really mentor role, but
Yeah.
someone I had been working with a lot, especially when it comes to the UX UI side
Yeah.
of things. I called him and I said, like, okay, I'm struggling here. What should I do? And he was like, you have to talk with this person. So I started talking to that,
Yeah.
and well, 2, 3 people later, I ended up meeting with this guy who said, "Yeah, what I would be really interested in is if you can working with us, and if you can maybe set up this low code guild for our company." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, that sounds awesome. I
Yeah.
love the things you're doing. The company sounds very cool, but I am not that leader that you're looking
Yeah.
for. However, I know just a person
Yeah.
who might be able to do that. And well, because I think he is a leader, and
Yeah.
I have been, well, following him for a while
Yeah.
now, because he's been always has had this kind of a mentor role for me. And he said, like, okay, I am willing to, hear him out to see if he wants that. But if he's going to do that, then I want you to join. I was like, sure, if he's going to do that, then I
Yeah.
will join.
Yeah.
And that's when I introduced my, well, former colleague, now boss, which he doesn't like when I say that he's my boss.
Yeah.
And so he's still my colleague.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm still very happy that we made that decision, that we
Yeah.
decided to go ahead and do that. And that's, it's been, I think it's almost been 2 years since I had that first conversation with at my current company, and like it took a few months, obviously, to get things going. And for a little over a year now, I've been with my current company, InnSpire. So that's it's things have just, how to say it, it's been a
Worked out.
ride.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good. And switching to the Mendix platform, and you've touched on obviously your interest in what you kind of enjoy doing, but is there any other kind of, in the time you've worked with the platform, the features that, there's obviously it's evolving all the time, and there's new
yes,
features, has there been anything that when there's been a release, you've been like, okay, well, wow, this is going to help my role or allow me to do what I'm doing much better?
definitely. Well, I think I could I've said this before and I'll say it again. Practically Mendix 9, like the entire Mendix 9 is I've always called it like the front end party.
Cool.
They're obviously with new minor releases came even better features for everything to make front end development much better, much easier, and I could say the integrated style sheets and stuff, but I always use Visual Studio Code anyway because
So,
that's handier for me. But like the integrated the integrated CSS compiler, so you can just save any. What I said before with the whole Gulp and Node.js,
yep,
and
yep.
in Mendix 8 you could use Calypso, so that was already much easier. And now you don't even need that anymore. So I think that's one of the best improvements in regarding the quality of life. I think it makes
Yeah.
working much easier. But in terms of features, like other kinds of features, I think one of my all-time favorite additions is that got introduced at 8.14, I think. That's dynamic classes. It's I would almost forget that it's a thing actually, because it's been around for quite a
For a
while,
while.
obviously, but I do remember like having to set up various widgets, various versions of widgets with conditional visibility, just to be able to switch out styling for things. And dynamic classes were really a game changer in
Yeah.
that. It's such a small feature, but it makes a huge
Big
difference.
impact. Yeah.
Yeah, big impact indeed. And other things, I think the way I'm a huge fan of nanoflows. Most of my colleagues, they hate, I think they misunderstand nanoflows. It's just that, like, a love-hate relationship maybe. It's
Yeah.
just they're so, but then again, I'm mostly focused on user interfaces on front
Yeah.
end. So obviously I prefer I don't necessarily prefer, but there's a lot of value for me in using nanoflows. But it's always a discussion with my colleagues.
And also, no platform or technology is perfect and comes with frustrations, and is there anything that the platform doesn't offer, at the moment that you'd like to see in the future?
Um, well, I thought I had something last week, but then it turned out it's actually kind of already there, so that's nice.
Okay.
I was working on this on a page for a team, and they had like a gazillion design properties, and I just wanted to strip the widget of all the design properties. And because there were like other things configured in the widget, I didn't want to just replace the widget. I was like, I have to manually take off all these design properties? Why can't I just like right click and say strip of all design properties? But it turns out like one of the newer features is that you can copy all the design properties. So I was like, I just need it to do the other way around. And then somebody said, well, you can just put an empty widget there, say copy these styling properties, and then put it on your other widget. You know, it's kind of the other way around. Okay, that works. Okay, so we don't need that anymore. What I would like to see improved, I think, is, and maybe it's already in the works because they keep on improving this, but like for Data Grid 2, it's already a huge, well, the opinions differ on whether it's an improvement of Data Grid, but I love the how you have a lot of flexibility with Data Grid 2. But something that I'm continuously running into is the issue I'm running into is that it's a very small thing, but you cannot customize the column headers. So you can customize a lot in Data Grid 2, but you cannot customize the column header. So you can put a class, a dynamic class, even on the column, but then it goes towards like the cells and not the header itself. So if you want, for example, if you would like to add an icon to your column header, you cannot do that without getting all hacky in the CSS. I would be like, why can't I just make a custom column header? So it's a minor thing really, but I don't really have big impact ideas that I run into, I think.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And, you know, obviously, you know, the last few years, the topic of AI is in every discussion and, you know, it's spoken about. You know, I'd be interested to hear your view on AI, but also are you incorporating it into your, obviously Mendix has Maya, you know, are you incorporating it? Does it assist you, make anything better for you personally?
Well, yeah, I always have like, I tend to be a bit hesitant when it comes to AI, like, but more in the way of, I'll just give an example.
Sure.
I used to give like workshops in HTML and CSS, and of course, naturally, like over time, people would say like, "Oh, I'm just gonna ask ChatGPT this."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, okay, you know, by all means, obviously, use ChatGPT to your advantage, but you have to understand what you're doing. If you just ask something and you just put it in your project and you have no clue what it's doing, I will know. If I read your code and you have no clue what you're doing, I will know. And that's not the point. I mean, sure, use it to work more efficiently, to do your work faster, maybe even better. But like I always have this, I still have this kind of fear that like someone who is maybe not as experienced yet will use a lot of AI functionality, and that eventually that it will just lead to rubbish code.
Yeah.
And so that's more why I was especially with Maya for domain modeling, I was really hesitant.
Yeah.
I don't really use it a lot in my day-to-day work, but I was experimenting with it. And well, coincidentally, the other day I was working on a blog and I needed some screenshots from a domain model. So I was like, you know what? This is my time to shine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask Maya to build my domain model. The goal was to add unnecessary attributes. I needed it to be a little bit over the top because that's the point I wanted to make in my blog. I wanted to make a point about asking for storing information that was not needed and why you shouldn't be doing that. Especially if that information was not making any sense in the context. I forgot to explain that to Maya, that goal of mine. So I just said, okay, this is what my application needs to do. These are the functionalities and stuff. And one of the things being was like, I need from the user this, and stuff, as well as their social security number. Maya then created my domain model for me, excluding the social security number. And then it proceeded to lecture me on why I shouldn't store sensitive data like that. And if I really had to, I should definitely encrypt it. My first thought was, oh God, I hope that now no one thinks that I actually planned on storing a social security number. No one better finds out about this. But I was genuinely impressed with how Maya guided me in the right direction and how it just refused to add the social security number, because that was one of my fears. Like someone just telling Maya to give me this, and this, and that Maya would be like, okay, here you go. And so I did. I was like, this is really cool. Yeah, absolutely. Really cool. So despite me not using it a lot yet, I really see that it can be very valuable. Yeah.
That's great. And an ongoing topic for years and still today, and the event we met at was focused on it as well. Women in technology. It's something that's been going for such a long time, and still a conversation, and awareness needs to be made. Have you gone through any challenges yourself that you can talk about, and how you've kind of navigated yourself through it?
Yeah, I do think that I sometimes think that I've been very lucky throughout my career, because I not really felt like I was seen as less than just for being a woman, for example. The more I speak with other women, I also realize that that's kind of like a unique experience, probably. However, yes, I have often been the only woman on the team, or not the only woman on the team, but the only woman on the only developer, the only female developer in the team. From time to time, that can feel a bit isolating, but I've never really felt like I didn't belong or something like that. Maybe because growing up, I often tended to be one of the guys. I often preferred hanging out with boys as a child. I also have an older brother, so I think that navigating in a man's world has always come quite easily for me. But still, there have definitely been times that it's subtle, but it happens a lot, and I think that it often happens unknowingly. I was at a tech conference, not really conference, a while back with a male colleague of mine, and one of the stands there was an OutSystem stand, so we were like, okay, we're gonna stake it out, we're gonna see what it's like. And the rep that was showing us the OutSystems things, he was only talking to my male colleague. He was only explaining the things to my male colleague, and I was just standing there like, and the second he did direct something at me, it was like, in a way, like, are you following? Are you understanding? And I was like, yep, I understand everything you've been doing, and I also know why that action is not working, because you actually put in the wrong parameter. So I know what's going on here. But I don't even think that it was intentional, and that's what makes it harder to spot, I think, often, because it may not.
It looks
be
natural, doesn't it?
So when you point it out, it's very easy to get defensive. Like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about? Of
Yeah.
course not. You know, it's
Yeah.
you were asking me the question, and that's
Yeah.
why I'm
Yeah.
talking to you.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah. Yeah. I think what I find is, it's a lot of women I speak to, they may not realize it in the situation until they go away and sit down and actually think about the situation, and then realize, actually, yeah, that was that does fall under that, rather than
yeah,
in the moment of time just saying, oh yeah, this is a problem, you're not talking to me or something like that, but I go back to something you touched on, and something I mentioned at the meetup as well, the confidence thing, right? You said that company offered you that role to be like a leader, and your first instinct was, that's not me, but I know someone else who could do that. Do you think that was a confidence thing, or you think, obviously because you mainly worked with men, and been in that environment, you just felt a man would be better for this role, or it was just your own confidence level at the time?
uh, definitely my own confidence level. I think, and um, probably like coincidentally that it was a man.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be, um, I wasn't pushing him forward because he's a man and
Yeah.
I'm a woman. It's just that I've never really been not yeah. I'm I'm not really a leader when there are other leaders in the room as
Sure.
well.
Okay.
I'm like, if no one else is a leader, I can be a leader.
Yeah.
But if there's another leader that I feel like is a better leader than I
Yeah.
am, then I want I want them to
That
lead.
person.
And
Yeah.
when whether that's a man or a woman doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. In this case as well, if it had been, I mean, I also know women that would be very suitable for that role.
Yeah.
And if I had had that kind of working relationship
Yeah.
at the time with a woman who I felt would be suitable for the job, I would have shoved
Yeah.
them for it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna do this, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And this doesn't only apply to women, but do you feel low code in itself, and you're someone who has not come from the coding background, right? Do you think that barrier is kind of lowered for people who want to, even though you trained in more the traditional side, right, on the kind of Java and things like that, and there's traineeships out there that can allow you to learn that. Mendix has a lot of people who just come straight to Mendix from total opposite backgrounds, right? So do you feel low code, and in particular Mendix, allows that barrier to be a lot lower for people who want to get into technology?
Yes, definitely. I what I find really cool about low code, and then obviously for me Mendix, because that's the experience that I have, is that it allows for not as technical people to get into software development, and it really bridges or maybe even closes the gap between business and IT. Because, well, if we are talking stereotypes a bit,
Yeah.
uh, most of the hardcore programmers are not really or are less user oriented.
Yeah.
They just probably prefer writing their code, and
Yeah.
you deliver the user story, for example.
Yeah.
This is how it has to be made. And in uh, in low code, where you're most of the time more part of the bigger conversation, you're just thinking along with hey, what what are the things that should be added to this, how should we make this, and like it's more the even people who do not have that technical background, they might be very good at the other side of things,
Yeah.
the having the conversations with either the user or the product owner, or working with whatever role and they bring other creative ideas because they have maybe another mindset, and it's easier to blend together the mixture of inputs. And I think that, yeah, that really makes low code to be more accessible, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And you touched on it earlier that, what you kind of learnt previously has still been, you've been able to use those skills in still today, right? It's not kind of wasted and kind of just,
Obviously, yeah.
it's not kind of just time that you wasted. It's stuff that you can apply and there's transferable skills.
Yeah. When I went to university, it was mostly I had to do a ton of reading and even more writing, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I didn't really have a lot of exams. I had to write a gazillion papers. But like having to, I had to read a lot of very difficult texts. I didn't understand what was going on half of the time, but it's like critical reading, like translating what you have read to, in my case, I had to write something. I had to write a whole new paper, but you have to understand the material you're working with. So I think it's, in a way, like critical thinking, and also like translating in a way information that you have to whatever creative output you want that to be, whether that's a feature you're building or a paper you're writing.
Yeah.
And though it's not like directly one-on-one the same, it's just like how your brain processes things and how you can put that to work in other situations.
Sure. And, as someone who kind of, you did it quite young compared to other people, switching and kind of changing your direction. But what would be your advice to, not just women, just anyone in general who's frustrated in, no matter the age, no matter what they're doing, frustrated in kind of what they're doing and looking to kind of try something new. But there's a lot of people who will, think I've invested this much time now, it'd be such a waste to change.
Yeah, well, what would really be a waste is if you stay where you are and stay unhappy. I mean, if you don't like where you are, you can either change that or you can stop complaining. You can't complain and stay where you are. My advice, I guess, would be go for it. Take the like lunge into the deep end or something like that. No, just I think that it's just do it. I think that would be the short version. Is just do it. Just go for it. Don't wait around until you are absolutely sure of it. Yes, it might be scary, but you don't know if it's gonna work or not if you don't try. And
That's true.
Yeah, just try.
Yeah. And, there's still, I don't know if you've had conversations with people, but there's still a lot of IT leaders, developers who are skeptical of low code, and don't believe it's for, it's more for kind of small gaming applications. What would be your message to those who still are quite skeptical of low code and people who are low code developers?
Well, yeah, no, AI is definitely coming for your job.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it feels like it's a bit in the same category. People are skeptical towards AI. I mean, I know that I've just stated that I have been skeptical towards AI as well in a certain way, but I also feel like it's you cannot evade it. There's no way around it. You just it's there, and it's gonna be there. But yeah, I get the skepticism regarding low code as well. But often I think it stems from not really understanding what low code really is and what it can do. And like the same goes for AI, that if you don't know how to use it, for example, then obviously it's not going to work for you. But people will reject something they don't understand. And obviously Mendix or low code in general, but it's not a magic bullet towards success or something. It's incredibly useful when you apply it in the right context. It's great for quickly building solutions, iterating fast, bridging the gap between business and IT. But you have to understand that it's not there to replace high code. Just in the way that AI is not there to replace your job. It's there to help you, to help you make things better, faster, more efficient. And it's there to empower people to build better software. So people that are skeptical towards low code, I think they just don't understand the power and the value that it has.
Yeah, that's great. And just a final question, bit of a curveball question. What I like to ask everyone is, if you could build something for yourself using Mendix, what would it be?
Like anything, like
anything,
an application,
anything, any application. If you've had an idea in your mind before that, that would be great as a side project, or
well, I don't have anything at the moment. I mean, like a few months ago, like last year or something, I had this whole idea to like make an app for the D&D campaign that we were doing back then. But that was not very. I didn't really have the ideas to actually work that out. I had a side project 2 years ago, I think. And that might be a better example, because it was like what I wanted to do. I wanted to start reading more. And like years ago, I did like I set reading challenges on Goodreads for myself. I don't know if you're familiar with Goodreads.
I've not heard of it.
Goodreads is like, it's social media for books.
Okay.
You can add books to your list you want to read. You can say when you started it, when you finished it. Kind of keeps up your statistics. And the reading challenge was, you could say, I want to read 20 books or whatsoever. And I think it was 2, maybe 3 years ago, I was reading. I finally started reading again. I just didn't want to do a challenge on Goodreads, because I was like, but if I read this fantasy novel, that's 1,200 pages. It still only counts as one book. Yeah. And the other book that's like 200 pages, also one book.
Yeah.
So, but having a challenge, like, gamification works. Having a challenge in mind helps me to actually do that more often. So what I was thinking, maybe I should just track the number of pages that I'm reading. So I wanted to keep all kinds of statistics, like the number of pages I read in a session, the number of pages I then had read during the week. And then over time, I would build up all those statistics. And at the end of the year, I could say, I have read this many books, but look how many pages I have read. So I built an app for that.
Ah, cool. That's really cool.
I kind of made my own small Goodreads. I made a mobile app so I could do it on the go. And on the homepage, it would have like the books. I could read multiple books at the same time, and I could tap it, and then I could say, it would know the page that I had left off the last time. I would only have to enter the page that I was currently on, and then I saved it, and then it would log every session as an individual session, and then accumulate all the read pages, and then I had my statistics.
That's cool. That's really cool. Good idea, that one. Good idea. Well, no, I appreciate you taking the time and sharing your, very interesting journey. I think, people who are I think there's many people who are probably where you were years ago, with frustrations. So hopefully whoever listens takes a bit of value and guidance out of it, and may even reach out to you directly for any questions. So no, thank you for being a guest. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this. It was really fun talking about all these things. So thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks, Sophie.
Bye.